Support me over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. This is the January of 2021 forecast for the sign of Libra. So for those of you that have a sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Libra, you may want to watch this. If you have heavily placed planets in Libra, which I would consider 3 or more to be heavily placed, you would want to watch this just to get a sense of whether or not your January is going to work for you or potentially against you. Will it be challenging? Will it be easy? Will it be, abundant? There's all sorts of different ways it can go. So because this is intended for so many people, it will be a broad spectrum reading. Therefore, my descriptions will be sort of less specific than normal if it was for a personal reading. That is to enable the majority of people who watch it to apply it to their lives. So you do have to figure out where these things that I say fit into your life. If they don't fit, that's completely fine. It might mean that you're working on something different. Some of your other planets might be, working or having a bigger effect on you. It could be the houses that your planets are in. All of that stuff does have an effect. So don't think that anything's broken, wrong, or not, not okay, because, what I say doesn't necessarily make sense for whatever you're working on in your life. Okay. What else was I going to say? If you do decide to make any decisions in your personal life after having watched any of my videos, know that those decisions are your own personal responsibility. Always trust your own intuition and intelligence first and foremost over anything I say. Also, don't take anything I say in any of my readings over that of a professional in their field, like a doctor, a lawyer, a therapist, like I said to the Geminis, your probation officer. If y'all are up there being told what you need to do to get your kids back, don't be using my readings to tell you what to do. Listen to that probation officer, okay, Libra? Keep that balance, bitch. Oh my God, I got up so early this morning. I'm a little rummy today, but I'm having a good time. All right, so let's see what's going on with the energy of Libra. Sun, moon, and rising. What do we need to know? So this first card is from the Wisdom of the Avalon Oracle. I thought this would be a good deck to use with the air signs just because the word wisdom is in the title. There's sort of a mysticalness to Avalon. I kind of just thought it worked well with you guys. So this could be our guide for the month. It could be a theme that we're going to be dealing with during this month, something we want to reflect upon during this month. So let's look at this and see what it's trying to tell us. Oh, interesting. Okay. So you guys get the dog, and this is the animal guides of Avalon: loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love. Now, the card number is 19, right? Which is 1 and 9, which would numerologically boil down to a 10, which is then becomes 1, which it says to me the focus is on Libra themselves. When I think about this loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love, I think there's an opportunity certainly for Libra to show up for themselves in some certain way. That would be the number 1 that we see in that 19, but also for others in the month of January that might be rather significant. It might be impactful in some way, and I say this, I'm a dog owner and my dogs are my world. Like, let's be honest. And for those of you that are dog owners, you'll probably agree with me about this, about your own dogs, but they are like sort of the best thing in my life, really. I can love them. They love me unconditionally, even at my worst moments. They support me in everything that I do. Yes, they can be pains in the asses at time. And do they, do the wrong things at time? Yes, but I still love them. And they're awesome. And I feel like this is the role that Libra may get to play in January for themselves and others, right? So I think that this is a vital role and it's something that is very important. I also think that this has the opportunity to show Libra a little bit about their own worth and their own sort of self-esteem. It's like, how they say that phrase, building self-esteem through doing, hi Claudette, how are you, dear? By doing esteemable acts. That's kind of like the companionship, the support that a dog provides, right? And so I sort of feel like Libra might get the opportunity, as we're in service to ourselves or others this month, we actually get to see the beauty of who we are and what we're capable of giving and how we give And there's something really wonderful about that. That's the one aspect of this card number 19. I feel like it brings the focus back to ourselves, and we'll get a better understanding of just how good we Libras are. I mean, I'm not a Libra per se, but I'm just saying for you guys. All right, so let's look at the tarot and see what is going on with these cards. It's interesting to me too, because the other two air signs got things like risk and fear, and you guys get the dog. Which to me, the animal aspect would be more earthbound energy, but I love the friendliness of the representation of the dog, right? So it's an openness, a friendliness, a groundedness. So I think that's really nice for the Libras this month. Let's see. Okay, so this first card is where you guys are centered at for the month of January. You won't be at this card the entire month, but it gives me insight into kind of where you're operating from and what you could potentially be creating for the future. So keeping that in mind, let's look and see what we've got. Okay, we've got the Three of Swords. Not the most ideal card. I mean, we've got a cat out in the rain with a heart with three swords through it. But I do think that this is the elemental suit of swords represents air, which is Libra's element, right? So I like that you guys are in your home element. So I don't think that this is all bad. I think if anything, there's an opportunity here to get beyond whatever might be ailing us, bothering us, and get to the state of the where we see this loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love in the dog. To me, I feel like if we channel this positivity, maybe in being of service to others and maybe even to ourselves, we'll get ourselves out of whatever this murk and mire is. This could be a little bit old energy or something we're carrying into January. But I will say this, we will be dealing with this throughout January. So when I look at the Three of Swords, I always think that it is about past pains, past hurts, past recollections that kind of come up and still get us a little bit, like they pinch our hearts in a way, right? The beauty about the Three of Swords is I think that there's strength in the fact that we can remove those swords as we do the work, as we look and sit with these things. And I think that somewhere in all of this, my feeling as I'm looking at these two cards together is that even though Libra might have their own pains, their own past, their own histories that they're contending with, they don't let that get in the way of the beauty of what I feel like this dog card represents, in the sense that you still don't let yourself get so weighed down or so out of balance that it's all negative. Does that make sense? There's almost this nice little balance between where we see the optimism of this dog, and then we've got sun and clouds and light and brightness around this dog, and then we have rain and sadness around this cat, right? So to me, that's like the scales being balanced for Libra, you know, the two extremes. But you will experience both. And ultimately, judging by where the cards go, there is a choice. Like, which side of the scale are we looking at today, Libra? Might be the theme for the month for January for you guys. And I'm not saying that looking at the Three of Swords is a bad thing. You know, honoring our past and the stuff that, you know, stems out of that, the thoughts, the fears, the sadnesses, whatever. I think that there's some work there that needs to be done that's going to serve you in the long run. And it will be work that you understand how to do. That's the swords aspect of this Three of Swords. It will benefit you in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, don't sort of get lost in it, is kind of the feeling that I would say. The dog is going to help to keep you from getting stuck there or feeling without hope and that sort of a thing when you do get down. Does that make sense? So now the next card is what I call the foundation card. And what I mean by that is this is a card from the past that sort of opened the door for the cards to be the way that it is today. This card can also be sort of what's propelling things forward in the now. The memory of this card, or the memory of this card can be holding things in place. So let's look at this. So this is the High Priestess. This is Piscean energy at its finest, major arcana. So let me look at this for 1 minute. I feel like there's some sort of truth that the High Priestess represents secrets, right? She represents that higher spiritual knowledge, that untapped sort of subconscious awareness, that sort of being involved and connected to a higher plan, a better knowledge, that sort of thing. But she doesn't necessarily give away all of her secrets, right? It's more of an internal dialogue. It's more of an internal intelligence, a spiritual intelligence in that way, right? And when I look at this and I think about the Three of Swords in the center as where we're centered at, I think about there might be some realizations that have come to Libra over, say, maybe, let's just say, for lack of a better, time frame, the last 6 months or a year. Maybe 2020 has been a hard year, but it's taught us something about ourselves that's rather important, that's rather impactful. That would be the major arcana aspect of the High Priestess. There's some sort of knowledge, secrets, awarenesses that have been revealed and made known to Libra that have put you in a place where I think that this Three of Swords kicks off, where you might be doing some spring cleaning. And what I mean by spring cleaning is doing spring cleaning in January, right, Libra, is letting go of some of the thoughts, the pains of the past, the sadnesses of the past, understanding that I feel like with this High Priestess, she's telling us it's a dead end. Like, we can't go back there again. We can't do these things over and over again and sort of expect something different to happen for us. I feel like the awareness and the knowledge of that might be may have been slightly difficult for Libra to swallow or to take on, but as you've taken it on and it's become more and more real, it's propelling us forward, and it's forcing Libra to sort of sort out their stuff through that Three of Swords. I ultimately think that Three of Swords, as your center through January, speaks to opportunities for change and for healing for Libra. And I like that High Priestess sits in the foundation because she's a powerful card. She's intuitively powerful. She's spiritually powerful. She's also the sign of Pisces, which is extremely psychic and also very emotionally motivated or connected. There's an emotional intelligence that's there that I think Libra will be working on through that Three of Swords, right? And so when we look at this loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love of the dog, this may be where we're kind of ending up at the end of all of this. This could be sort of what we're giving ourselves, the gift that we're giving ourselves. Maybe there's some sort of freedom that we need. There's a happiness here that I feel like is here that I don't see here just yet. So I'm wondering if this is either the dog is what Libra needs to stay trained on, in the sense of like, keep your eye on the prize and getting back to this idea of feeling happy-go-lucky, having less cares in the world, that sort of an idea. And also the sort of, being free of anything that's sort of weighing us down or that has been weighing us down. There's a definite strength with the High Priestess, but she may have to take you on a little bit of a journey, right? Or she maybe already has, is my feeling, actually. She's probably taken you through both the darkness and the light, shown you some things that maybe you didn't otherwise know. And in acting or now having that knowledge from the past, it's kind of opening the door for you to have to kind of do the work of maybe removing some of the swords of the past, the thoughts of the past, the pains or places where you've been wrong, so you can release them so that you can have the happiness, the companionship, the peace of the dog, right? And feel connected again, right? And that sometimes that comes through being compassionate, being in unconditional love, being sincere, being loyal to yourself and to those around you that you care about, and bringing that back into your life. Does that make sense? Like, I almost feel like Libra has maybe not felt very connected. And so it's time to bring that back. All right, so let's look at the Spirit or Soul card and see what our Spirit or Soul wants us to work on during the month of January. So this is the Five of Swords. So Five of Swords is about sort of, to me, it's about kind of people's other like thoughts, opinions. Maybe there might be a little bit of fighting. There's a little bit of challenge there. There's usually success with it, but fives always represent change. And when I look at this, it's sort of like this, the way that they've designed this is you have this black cat on one side, you have the white cat on the other. We have this black and white cat in the middle. There could be a struggle. There could be fighting of opinions, like I said, but this cat is ultimately sitting successful on top of all five swords, right? So through a little bit of discord, struggle with others and their opinions, it could be some outside influences or thoughts of others that could be giving us a little bit of disdain or issue. but we need to accomplish and get beyond that this month. And that's the opportunity that I see also in that Three of Swords, is this idea of pulling those swords out, letting those opinions go. If people invalidate us, don't take it on personally. Understand that a lot of what people say about us or how they perceive us is usually a reference to really what they feel about themselves or how they see within themselves. And so I think when I'm looking at this Five of Swords, our spirit wants us to realize that. Our spirit wants us to not like maybe bite or get caught up or get hurt, injured by the what's the word? Like I don't know if discrepancy is the right word, but the misinformation of others, right? And so there may be a little bit of struggle. There may be a little bit of adjustment and change going through January as we learn to navigate this stuff in a better way. But I do ultimately see it as success. That cat sitting on all five swords, like basically anything that was conflicting with us, from if it's from an outside source or even if it's from within us in our own mind, ultimately we will get control over it at some point, and that's what our spirit wants for us, so that we can change that thinking or that pain or that old outdated thing that we keep going back and revisiting, that the High Priestess is really telling us, like, look, this is a dead end street. It's not working anymore, Libra. Let's move on to greener pastures. And I think that there are greener pastures out there for you. Definitely. All right. So the next two cards are what I call the outside influences. These are things that could be affecting you positively or negatively in the month of January. They're just things we need to be aware of. They can be people and events, or things more vague like belief systems or energies that are around us that are affecting us during this time. So let's see what we've got. Oh, I like this. So we have the Queen of Swords. So definitely within in line with the Libras, right? Queen of Swords is always going to be sort of that more emotional. She's not super emotional, but she's working with more emotions than any of the other Swords court cards, right? Because she's a queen. So she's a little bit on the intuitive side, I would say, a little bit maybe on the emotional side. I see her as sort of kind, and I see her as sort of very analytical, clear thought, ability to make a clear decision. She might be leading you guys or helping you guys. This could definitely be a person outside of yourself. Ideally, it would be a female, maybe of the air sign variety. So we're talking Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, but it doesn't have to be a female, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an air sign. But if you do have a significant woman in your life that is any of those signs, and she seems to be a bit of an authority, she's a clear thinker, she's analytical, she cares about you and wants to help you, allow her to come in and help you as an outside source. If this is not an outside person, right? This could be just the energy or the principles or the values of the Queen of Swords, right? There could be opportunities where we get to think clearly. We get to make more intuitively based or emotive and analytical thought decisions blending together. Does that make sense? Where we can move forward in a way that gives us authority, and it gives us the opportunity to feel like we're in authority, to feel like we're connected again, to feel like we're empowered again. But I feel like not only mentally will it feel good because it's the element of the swords, but it will also like intuitively and emotionally feel good because it's a queen. Does that make sense? So if for some of you it's an outside woman or person that's of the air sign, vernacular or profession, whatever you want to call it, if that's for you and that comes to you in that form, great. Utilize them, trust their advice. Their advice, I feel like, or their guidance will make sense to you. I do get a feeling when I'm looking at this cat too, she's sort of facing the future. So I feel like this is guidance towards like where we want to be, in the long run, Libra. If we're running that by someone and they're saying, well, why don't you do this, this, and this? And it sounds right to you. I think that you can trust your own barometer, your own gauge. I also love that the Queen of Swords sits there, and I feel like she's having a conversation with this High Priestess here, both being feminine, both being women in power, both being sort of very alert and aware, right, in their different ways. The High Priestess being more psychically and spiritually aware, the Queen of Swords being more analytically and what's the word I'm looking for? Like intelligence aware. Does that make sense? So I think that the two of them pair nicely. You have this high priestess energy from your past. You have this awareness. You've come into these understandings. You've been connected in a way in the past through maybe adversity, but nonetheless, you've been connected to these things that you're starting to see that things aren't necessarily maybe the way you want them to be. And so now it's time to get them to where they better suit you, right? And the Queen of Swords wants to help us. If that's through an outside individual who's assisting us, or if it's through, situations where we get to step into this Queen of Swords energy and make these clear decisions, because not only are they intellectually correct, but they also feel correct. Boom, then do it, Libra, and do it for your own future, right? All right, so let's look to the other outside influence. So we have the Strength card represented by the sign of Leo, which is also very complementary to the air sign of Libra. Leo is fire sign, which is, fire and air work very symbiotically to one another. Strength is major arcana. Strength is exactly about that. It's an opportunity to sort of stand in one's strength, to be regarded, to be revered, to be acknowledged. I think that this is opportunities, again, where we might find situations where we may be getting acknowledged through the assistance of others. Like, how do I want to say this? With this dog here, I feel like there is opportunities for Libra to come up out of, I almost get this sense with that Three of Swords in the center, right? And the dog card is sort of like maybe this guide through this month, is there may be, and I'm using this as an example, so it may not be exact for each and every one of you, but take this idea and run with it. With this Three of Swords, I'm not going to say that Libra's had the easiest run of things going on, right? And so Libra's going to have their issues that maybe they're looking at, they're dealing with, they're feeling their way through, or trying to think their way through. And these feel like issues that are probably from the past, right? And as you set those aside at certain moments throughout the month, and that's where this dog energy comes in, where it's about being of service, being a companion to another that we care about, being loving and kind, maybe even just to ourselves, but also to others, right, that we care about. I feel like that's where that strength comes in. I feel like that's where, because if we look to it, it's interesting. I just noticed this. She's petting that chow's head. There's a dog in this strength card. Do you see that? So when we're setting ourselves aside, right, or the issues of whatever we might be facing or dealing with, or I don't want to say struggling, but trying to heal. When we set those things aside and we, how do I want to put this? When we set those things aside and we're of service to others, we actually do a service to ourselves. And I think that we're going to get acknowledged not only for the kindness that we bestow upon others, but we also get acknowledged for the strength that it takes to be able to do that. Does that make sense? And from that, there's reward there. That cat, that white cat, is wrapped in those beautiful floral wreaths. And there's a bonding happening there between the cat and the chow dog. So I think that there's a gift to be had there. Leo, the sign of Leo, it being complementary to you, also speaks to this idea of big ups or acknowledgement happening there. Leo is a very generous sign, a very loving and gregarious sign. So that should bring about high energy. I almost feel like with the Queen of Swords and the Strength card, the outside influences for the month of January for my Libras will feel good. It feels more like the internal influences are what we're challenged by this month. Only because we have that Three of Swords in our center, and that Five of Swords in the spirit space speaks to the idea that our spirit wants us to look at like where we get in our own way. Where have we let, I almost want to say, like, where have we let the experiences of the past kind of affect us in such a way that it stops us from growing or doing what we want to do or moving in the way that we want to move? And the High Priestess, she's got that, she's that secretive energy, but she's driving all of this, right? She's that inner awareness that Libras come in contact with in the past, that you guys are learning some lessons. You guys are learning some secrets, some truths, some deep spiritual truths about how and where you guys maybe allow and I'm using this as again as an example, but maybe where we allow people to overstep our boundaries, maybe where we allow, and nobody ever wants to admit that, like, you know, when we've been wronged, our part in our own wronging. Does that make sense? So what I mean by that is, like, sometimes when I've allowed an argument to take place between myself and another individual, I always want to look at their part in things and I want to say where they're to blame, right? And to me, I feel like the high priestess is like, no, 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 no. We're going to show you where you went wrong in that argument, or where you sort of let that argument happen, or where you stimulated that argument. And so for me, I feel like that could be some of this Three of Swords stuff too, right? Where again, we go back to that number one in the dog, and the dog teaches us to keep the focus on ourselves this month. And so I think that the outside influences are beneficial this month to help us grow, to help us be seen, to help us understand better who we are. But we also have to understand that some of the stuff that we do within our thoughts or within ourselves, or how we behave in situations, isn't necessarily serving us anymore. And we have to remove those things to be able to move on, right? All right, so let's look at the potential outcomes card. Is basically the end of the month, how it's going to end out for the majority of the Libras. This is not set in stone, right? It is a potential card. What I mean by that is it's like sort of where things are naturally flowing, barring that nothing major changes. So this card is open and available for change. If it's a negative card, we don't have to like be stuck with it happening. We can use it as a warning to make choices and changes in our lives to affect the outcome through free will, right? But if it's a beneficial card and we want to see this come to pass, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading towards it, and not, you know, just keep kind of doing what we're doing, and things will work out in this way. So let's see what we've got going on. So this is the Three of Wands. Again, complementary energy, the energy of fire. I love this card. There's an expectation in this card. So by the month's end, I feel like we've cleared away any sort of stuff that we see in this. And it's interesting, we start with the Three of Swords and we end at the Three of Wands, guys. To me, it's like from a clouded, sort of dismal view to an expectant, hopeful, desirous sort of view, right? The Three of Wands is always about sort of waiting for that desire to come in. There's another reader that I love. She uses an analogy where she talks about how the Two of Wands is like placing the order in Amazon, and the Three of Wands is waiting for that delivery to come. So to me, it feels like as we dig through the thoughts and the pains of the past and we release them, and that's also reflected in that Five of Swords, that sort of victory through, you know, argument or struggle, the opinions of others, as our spirit asks us to face these things and deal with these things. And I do think that we don't want to necessarily make that our full focus for the month, but as we work on those things, we free ourselves up through the energy and the opportunities that we see in the Queen of Swords and in the Strength card to move ourselves away from the dismal nature of the Three of Swords into the hopeful nature of the Three of Wands, right? He's sitting on that cliff there, looking at new horizons, new opportunities. He's looking at possibilities versus problems, right? And he's open to all of the good things that life have available to him and what's to come in the year of 2021 as the months unfold. And when I look at this dog here, this idea, like, that's how dogs operate, in the sense that they're sweet and open and willing and all of that sort of stuff. So I think that I almost want to say, like, if Libra maintains that idea of that loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love, at least only first and foremost to themselves this month, you will work through this stuff that, you know, maybe hurt you, pressed your buttons, affected you in the past. And I think that you'll be free of it, hopefully by month's end, ideally by month's end, and be in this sort of excited anticipation of what is new to come, what possibilities are out there for you. And I think that the High Priestess requires us to do a little bit of that sort of maybe shadow work, or that heavier stuff, moving through that stuff, so that we can get to this place of hope and excitement for what's to come. And I see that as the outcome for January. So with those two beneficial outside influences of the Queen of Swords, which is very much in sync with us, and then the Strength card, which is also still in sync with the sign of Libra, I feel like there are beneficial powers or energies, situations, people that are at work around us. That strength card too also could be potentially a Leo in your life. Keeping that in mind too, that Leonine energy. If you have a good Leo friend, or somebody that's a Leo that's willing to help you, let them help you. They're going to assist you through this time, right? So keeping that in mind too, we have the sign of Leo very much in that strength card. So I think that you guys, that leads you also to this sort of fiery wands energy of the Three of Wands, right? What else? I think that's it, guys. This looks to me like it's definitely an opportunity for transformation. It's definitely an opportunity to sort of let go of the past, let go of any sort of shortcomings of the mind that may be affecting us right now, any sort of thought hindrances that we no longer need and that we, want to be free of. We will be, that Three of Wands indicates that we will be free of that, right? I feel like the cards are telling me that we're transforming from a Three of Swords into the vibration of the Three of Wands, which is definitely about spiritual desire, hope, and expectation of waiting, not waiting for the next thing to come in, but actively what's the word, like maybe even a little, not dreaming. Dreaming's not really the right word. I just feel like this cat's like, okay, now the possibilities are open up. Now what do I want to do? What do I want? Where do I want to go next? There's an excitement, there's a enthusiasm, there's a renewed energy in that Three of Wands that I don't necessarily feel is in the Three of Swords. But we have to walk through the work that's involved in the Three and the Five of Swords in the month of January to get there. And the Queen of Swords and the Strength card will be there to assist us. So do the work, Libra. It's all there for you. And it's like we deserve it with this sort of the loyalty and the kindness and the sweetness of the dog card is just like, just stay positive and move your way through this as best you can. And you'll be fine. It's going to all be good. Okay, so that is your Libra reading for the month of January of 2021. I hope it makes sense. If you guys have any questions, you can leave me a comment on the video and I will try to answer it. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined. If you're watching on Facebook, please go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and vice versa. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to follow my business page on Facebook. If you're interested in a private reading, you can always message me at the Facebook business page, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month. All right, thank you so much and have a great day, Libra. All right, bye-bye.